Jam. Toon Jam.
Hello, and welcome to Toon Jam. I am Matt.
And I'm Jamin.
And today, oh boy, today we are talking about Mythic Warriors, Guardians of the Legend. Oh, with a name like that, I imagine shivers just went down your spine. Oh, maybe you've seen it before, maybe you haven't. Let me tell you a bit about it. Mythic Warriors, also known as Mythic Warriors Guardians of the Legend, is a 1998-2000 animated television series which featured retellings of popular Greek myths that were altered so as to be appropriate for younger audiences. Produced by Nelvana and Marathon Media, 2 seasons of episodes were produced in 1998 and 1999, then aired as reruns until 2000, when CBS's abolition of its children's programming resulted in its cancellation. The series was based on the book series Mythmen, Guardians of the Legend, written in 1996 and 1997 by Laura Geringer and illustrated by Peter Bollinger. The series was a fixture of CBS's Saturday morning cartoon lineup. Scottish television, who you may remember from such classics as the Hurricanes.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. They screened the series as part of its children program Inside Out. The show was repeated until 2009 on WKND at STV, which is a children's television strand on a Scottish television channel, which is a proper, with the times there.
Yeah.
Weekend at Scottish TV. Then on Saturday mornings on STV during 2010, the series has been translated into Scottish Gaelic and is broadcast on BBC Alba since 2010. For those that don't know, Alba is the Scottish Gaelic word for Scotland.
Oh.
Fun fact there. Most of the characters in the show are portrayed with their original Greek names, with a few Romanized exceptions, for example, Hercules and Ulysses. There are 2 seasons, as I said before, and 26 episodes. There is no Rotten Tomatoes rating. This doesn't even exist on there. However, we do, as always, have our IMDb rating. Can you guess what this is?
I'm going to go 6.2.
Oh, you're out. It's 7.7. 7.7 for the Mythic Warriors.
They liked it way more than I thought they did.
Yeah, well, I think you can go on. There's people have obviously done episode by episode as well. So, I'm just looking at these 2 top rated reviews here. Season 1 episode 6, someone's rated 6.5. Season 1 episode 7, 6.2.
Oh.
So you were right somewhere along the lines.
Somewhere there's a 6.2.
Somewhere.
Yes.
That was a rating for something.
That's it.
Did you know it was nominated for 1 award?
Oh really?
Yes, the Humanitas Prize for children's animation.
No.
Didn't win it, but it was nominated.
That's fair play.
So fun facts. Had you ever seen this before? Or
I don't think I had. No. It didn't ring a bell. The name, which you think definitely would if you'd seen it before, and I don't really remember like the look of it or anything like that. What about you?
No, I don't remember either. And at the time, I was quite into, because obviously it's the same time Hercules came out, and there was a series of that I watched a lot. But this, never saw it. Didn't know it existed. So there you go, something new. What's Twitter got to say?
Memories of the show still wavering around Twitter. We've got 3 Hairs who says, 12-year-old me in the year 2000. Don't talk to me. The Hades and Persephone episode of Mythic Warriors is on, and I need to watch it for the 17th time and feel new things. So
Oh boy,
yeah,
layered.
yeah. So yeah, clearly very vivid memories of how they felt about the show back
Yeah.
when they were 12. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. We've also got Liam Stew, CRT, who says, I've been pronouncing Persephone as Persephone and found out by watching Mythic Warriors with my bro that it's actually Persephone.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So
I mean, I'm
educational.
sure they are not the only person to have made that mistake as well.
Mm.
You know, that's how it's read.
Yeah, that is. It's a weird one.
So educational,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
educational value.
I feel like a lot of people have learned things, even if they're just abstract feelings from
Yeah.
watching this show. We've also got The Last Disciple, who says, Mythic Warriors, Guardians of the Legend. Pow! Right in the childhood.
So that's someone that really, watched it.
Mm. That's taken them on a bout of nostalgia that they weren't prepared for.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Completely off guard.
Yeah.
Completely. Sometimes that happens though, you forget what's in the back of your brain somewhere, and then you see it and you
Yeah,
regret.
it's like it is like pow, right in
Yeah.
the childhood. That's a good way of putting it, really.
It is, yeah. I've never heard it phrased like that before.
But yeah, you've added something new to our lexicon, is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then finally we've got Mavrigata, who says Mythic Warriors, Guardians of the Legend, and there's like an emoji sniffing into a tissue. 10 out of 10 defined me as a living and functioning member of the society.
Wow. Who would have thought ancient Greek stories
I know.
bring you into modern day society so strongly? So it left a good impression on them then.
Yeah.
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 There
I think
you
it
go.
formed them as a person as well,
Yeah.
judging by the rest of their thread. So
So
yeah,
I mean,
you just
it's
don't
safe to
know.
say, there's not a lot on Twitter, was there, about it?
No, I mean, those that remember it fondly, apparently,
Yeah.
and those who've never seen it continue to have not seen it. So
according to Twitter, this is something of a hidden gem.
to some degree, yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, let's see what we think. Let's dive in. So, I mean, the first thing I've got to say, I was sorely disappointed by the lack of a theme tune.
Oh,
At least in the first episode. So we watched first episode, which was Andromeda, the Tale of Andromeda. If you know Greek stories, it's got all sorts going on. It's got bit of sexism in there.
Yeah.
Fighting against that. It's got some well-known. Perseus makes an appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk. Oh yeah, remember that guy that killed the Gorgon and Medusa and all that jazz?
Yeah.
So it's got to be that. It's got the gods in it. It's got all sorts going on. First episode, you got it all. Really, but no theme tune.
No, I thought it was going to be a beast as well. Like it looked like it was setting one up at the start.
Well, what do you think? Right, so Scottish. What was it was Scottish television, wasn't it?
Television, yeah.
Yeah, Scottish television. The one thing you can say about the Hurricanes, you can't really say it was good, but you can say it had an absolutely banging theme tune.
Oh yeah.
The Hurricanes. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that theme tune. That was great.
Yeah.
Here we had none.
No. But
It could have been. Do you reckon it's a first episode thing?
I think so, yeah, because I saw on Twitter someone said that the Mythic Warriors was their favourite theme song, and I'm like,
man. Right. Well, after this episode, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
I've got to listen to this theme tune, because if it's anywhere near as good as the Hurricanes theme tune, it's going straight on your workout playlist.
That's it. It's weird that this happens so frequently that a series starts and doesn't give you the theme tune for the series.
It's because they haven't got all the clips yet.
Oh yeah, because that is what makes up for like 90% of all the openings. It's just the clips from the show, irrelevant to the theme.
Yeah. I think that's got to be it.
So you reckon it's in like episode 10?
I think more it's because it's a pilot, isn't it? And then they're like, I'm not making a theme tune unless we're getting a series.
But the theme tune's like what sticks in your brain as well.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's what'd sell it.
Yeah, exactly. Missing out. If you're planning on releasing a cartoon sometime soon, make sure you get that theme tune in episode 1. You need to get it in people's brains. That's my advice.
I'll say I knew it was Scottish television before I knew it was Scottish television, because the art is pretty much the same as the Hurricanes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
got that sort of, that early noughties, late 90s computer animated 2D vibe.
Yeah.
And everyone is like sort of, a chiseled masculine face, no matter, on their character. It could be, the daintiest character going, and they've got a chiseled masculine face.
Yeah.
The sort of He-Man look.
Yeah. The lines on the animation are very very sketchy at times. Like you'll notice like noses and stuff disappearing all the time and that kind of thing if you start paying too much attention to it.
Yeah. Poor shading.
Yeah, which goes away and comes back in from time to time as well. So there's a lot of like flat colours and stuff, so it can look a bit zooey. Like, you can see the scenes that they definitely spent time on, and then there's the rest.
And
that's
the problem, isn't it? It is a mixed bag.
It is, yeah.
But it's not the worst going.
No,
it's not like Swamp Thing level of,
like barely watchable.
Yeah. So it kind of has that. The story itself, how did you find that?
I mean, I'm not as brushed up on my Greek mythology as you will be. So, I think I half remember the story, but probably because it's been told in many different ways over the years. I mean, I was like, I feel like I kind of know where this is going from the start. And the characters were like pretty standard as well. There wasn't anything that I felt like, oh, this is a cool interpretation of it, or like, oh yeah, I've never seen it. I've never realised this is how it went down, sort of thing. Nothing shocking. It was very much like it told the tale, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, at least in this episode, there was nothing that stood out, was there? As like, for saying they had quite a bit going on. They had like a sea monster, some nymphs, a couple of gods. So you got Athena and Poseidon.
Yeah.
Warriors everywhere with fancy armor, but none of it really stood out as something that you were like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
It's all quite generic.
Really was, yeah. Nothing quite memorable about any of it, really. Like, I mean, I could have watched this episode when I was younger, and I probably would forget it instantly.
Yeah.
It's just nothing to grab onto. Even the main characters were pretty kind of lifeless almost, and just
And
generic.
I think I like the concept of bringing old myths into, because it does work as well. I think as a concept, like you can have these old stories, jazz them up a little bit, but they've got enough going. Monsters and all that. They're kind of, I mean, they've been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
People are still getting enjoyment out of them. And you can. The good thing about when stories are so old, there's no original version. You can tweak them a bit and change them, and no one's really going to be like, that doesn't happen actually.
Yeah,
I think you'll find Perseus is blonde. You're not going to get any of that.
It's more about like the moral, isn't it? Kind of underneath it. That's kind of what it's about. But I must say, if we take this, and probably the only other Greek thing I can kind of remember us watching, which would have been Ulysses himself. Now that was a story I could get behind.
Yeah, now that's
That
interesting.
interpretation was
Yeah.
definitely like way more up my street. Like, oh man.
And that's the thing, if you look at these on paper,
Mm,
this to me was like, oh boy, this is what I want.
yeah.
Just straight up Greek myths.
Mm,
Monsters, you know, gods, Greek setting. I'm happy with that.
yeah.
Ulysses, that's not what I need.
Yeah.
But I will say Ulysses definitely had it going on.
Oh yeah. And I mean,
And that was a surprising one for me because it was like hardcore 80s.
yeah.
And it was just everything I didn't want, I thought, in a show. And it was all there and it's what I wanted.
Yeah.
You
And
just sometimes you don't know, do you?
and the main thing, it began with an amazing theme tune as well.
I mean, the best theme tune going.
Unbeatable, top tier theme. You see
If
those
you're,
guys,
if
they
you're
know
new
how
to
to do
Toon
it.
Jam, you won't know how much we love a good theme tune, but the Ulysses theme tune, if you've not heard it before, go to YouTube, check it out. That will become your most played song in general. You'll be adding it to playlists. You'll be adding it to just general other people's playlists.
Yeah.
Here's that. Making sure
level.
Your gym's playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you will go into your gym and forcibly make sure that theme plays.
You'll gain a stone in pure muscle.
Yeah.
Just from hearing it once.
Oh yeah. That's how good that theme is.
So check it out.
And that was just the theme, like.
Yeah. And to go back to the point, yeah, that was an interesting take on it. This does have a certain modernistic, more in its storytelling, I suppose, and characters. And angles, I suppose, because the themes and the morals in these stories do change over time.
Right. Yeah.
Because they, slightly altered, and obviously the way saying, gender equality. Gender equality now means a whole different thing to gender equality, then.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing about then.
What would have been the big change in the story then for this one? Like, was there something like too extreme for kids that they've kind of been missing?
I imagine the change is in that it's in the sort of the way that she settles as a warrior,
right?
And I mean, she probably still does settle as a warrior, but the thing I would imagine, and this is entirely just guesswork. I don't really know. I don't know this story very well, but the fact that she marries Perseus is sort of telling that it needs to be the greatest warrior,
right? So
he is probably in the original story much better than she is.
Yeah.
And the only but she's still good. It's hard to say. Like, I don't know enough about this story really, but I imagine a lot of it is to do with, because you've got to think of the times it was told and what people thought of the roles, like male and female roles in society.
Yeah.
And it changes, maybe it was, I mean, I'm pretty sure ancient Greece was really, really sexist.
Yeah.
But things change as well in our understanding, and stories will always take on a modern approach in that way. We kind of fit things in to have more, like, I mean, just the sort of appearance of them, like the fact that most of them are just, white.
Yeah.
No Greek look about them at all. There was, to be fair, there was a Greek look to some of them. But, it's just things like that.
Yeah.
Changes our perception and to the story and the visuals, I suppose, as well. But yeah, so certainly is a modern take on the story. But I think they should do that as well. That's the point of the story.
To give it a relevant twist, sort of thing.
Yeah. And these stories are the lessons that we should learn. So why shouldn't they match, sort of the most modern ideals? Because it's not like I mean, some of them maybe have an original text, but a lot of them are just retellings anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure on that fact, but it's probably not true, but there you go. There are tellings of them, you've got like Homer's Odyssey and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at them as well, I think what's interesting is how little we've changed in the way we tell stories. Like, what's the real difference between a lot of what happened today and a superhero story? And when I say today, I mean in the episode of Mythic Warriors, not the day today.
Yeah.
But he's got like flying sandals. They've got magical armor, shields that reflect anything.
Yeah, like that rock.
Yeah, I mean, one of the Avengers is even a god.
Yeah.
These stories are, we just love to tell stories of super guardians in some way. Gods or superpowered people, warriors, legends. Great.
They're the ones that don't get old, isn't it? Aren't they?
Yeah. And I think we just, it's the supernatural in a way. It's the stuff we just enjoy, and it is interesting to see these old tales and just see how they still survive today.
Do you think they could bring it back? Like, do you think it'd be easy for them to bring it back into 2021? Just do another slight adjustment and then
the reboot of Mythic Warriors.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? They've, like I say, these stories carry on for thousands of years. Was it like 500 BC, if not earlier?
Yeah.
Some of this, so it's they've been around for ages, constantly told. So yeah, you could easily do a new version that's more current.
Yeah. I think they just all they need to do, I guess, is kind of update the look of it a little bit, and then sort of slap the stories up a bit so that it was
tweak the morals.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, what do you think about that? Like, the idea of tweaking morals to fit in with current things. Do you think that sort of defeats the point of it, or?
I mean, I think there's something. This is kind of what I was curious about in the first place, of like how much they changed, because it's something to have those original stories and have that story last throughout time and be like, this is the Three Little Pigs and this is what happens, and this is the moral sort of thing. Whereas, like, if you keep changing it over time, then it's essentially you're just using the Three Little Pigs as characters in an ever-changing story. Do you know what I mean? They're just pieces of like the set more than they are elements in the story. So that does kind of change things. I mean, like, if you've got the core of it still there, I guess it makes sense. I feel like there's got to be a limit to how much you can really alter before you're just telling a different story with the same set dressing sort of thing. So
I think sometimes when you hear the original stories, there's something about and it won't be all of them, but some of them you're like, this is just horrendous.
Right.
Like the morals on these, especially with like, the gods, they're so petty. And I mean, Zeus, the amount of women he impregnates who don't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
It's unreal. So things like that, especially, for what we now deem okay for, kids to see and stuff, you just can't have.
Yeah. So I suppose that's it. Like, you kind of need to, like, I guess you've got to kind of go over and vet the stuff beforehand as well. But I mean, I think we always naturally kind of adapt stories, don't we? Like, even like things like sayings and like idioms and all that kind of stuff, they kind of evolve over time. Like when you find like an original quote of something, like you probably say all the time, sometimes it's like the opposite of what you thought it meant. The original is actually, it's not saying that at all, but because society's kind of grown to to go in one direction. It's like you just kind of, you know, tweak it a bit, warp it a little bit, and then it's like, yeah, it still fits in with us. Because I guess the issue is, like, if it's not relevant, then the story doesn't matter anymore, does it? You know?
Yeah.
Like it's not worth telling a story if it literally doesn't apply to anybody.
Yeah, and it's just not going to appeal to people either, is it?
No, and you know, if it is kids that you're trying to appeal to, it's not going to teach them anything if it's a completely out of date concept and they can't actually apply it to their lives. Like, so.
And it's the kind of thing where it's the nature of it, isn't it? Like, if you don't change them and if they're not relevant, they wouldn't exist.
No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, evolve or die.
That's it.
But, you know, the cartoon itself, not very well remembered. So I suppose.
No, they're very true. So yeah.
But it is interesting because if you go back and watch Disney's Hercules, obviously, you know, you compare that to the story of Hercules, it's completely different.
Oh yeah.
But what it is it's a Superman story. And I don't know if maybe that relates to Superman being a story of, you know, similar story, but I mean, Hercules is cast down from heaven accidentally, but you know, he's the son of a god, and in a way Superman is, you know, the son of an alien race, is super powered.
Yeah.
Raised by, you know, farmers. Hercules is as well. Desperate to find his parents. He finds out who he is, decides to become a hero with his powers.
Yeah.
And then is just desperate to sort of get back to some normalcy. It has a Lois Lane type love interest.
Yeah.
No secret identity, to be fair. But, you know, there's a lot of similarities. You can tell that, you know, Superman was definitely an inspiration when they were making the Disney Hercules movie.
And I guess maybe like Hercules was an inspiration to, like, from the writers of Superman, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So it all adds to each other, doesn't it? It's interesting how it works.
Cyclical, yeah.
Yeah. And then certain values get added, things like Zeus. So in the Hercules film, I mean, we're digressing big time, but Zeus is obviously, like, you know, a super friendly guy, the father figure that he always wanted.
Yeah.
And Zeus is the reverse of that. You know, he's a horrendous person.
Yeah.
God. Just going around doing what he wants, making everyone's life a miserable thing.
So yeah, that's where it becomes kind of a bit questionable, isn't it? Because like, you know, you might get kids that then start like idolizing Zeus or whatever.
Yeah, and then finding out the truth.
Like, oh no, actually, this isn't the deal.
Yeah,
you know,
but it's interesting because it's like you kind of forget that this was a religion.
Yeah.
So a lot of their motives come from, so like Poseidon, even in this episode, he tries to destroy the island they're on. Yeah. With a monster. But you know, you can see sort of the logic of like blaming, like, you know, if say a typhoon or something came and destroyed your home. Yeah. It must be the gods that have done that. And then obviously it was also a time of poetry, so these things kind of combine, and then you get these amazing stories that have lived for generations that are all because someone's house got knocked down. Yeah. By, you know, the wind. That's it. It's little pig. Yeah. It's an incredible world, and we are a bizarre species that live in it. Yeah. Making stories left, right, and centre. Okay, well, I think we've we've gone to the depths on this one. We've barely talked about the actual show, but we've got quite you know, deep into the ideas of mythology. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So okay, let's move on. Let's give our reviews. And it's one head, it's two head, three heads. This Hydra just won't go down. Warriors, guardians of the legend.
Oh, Zeus has impregnated his wife again. He's not going to be happy about that one.
Warriors, guardians of the legion, mythic warriors. Oh, and the horse goes through the gate. It's the Trojan horse maneuver. It's paid off. Warriors, guardians of the legions.
Oh, the ball's got wet. It's another Poseidon goal for the boys. It's a wet one, boys.
Warriors, guardians of the legions, mythic warriors. Okay, so here at Toon Jam, we have a 3-point rating system that goes as follows. So we've got thumbs up, modern nice guy Zeus. Yeah. Thumbs down, shady old school Zeus. Keep your wives and daughters locked up. And shaky middle, how that transition actually happened. What's going on there? So we've got good, bad, not really sure about that one. It's a strange middle ground. So Mythic Warriors, Guardians of the Legends, episode 1, Andromeda. Your thoughts?
Yes. So we start with Zero theme tune, which very upsetting on the start there. Usually, you know, that kind of gets you hyped up or in a particular frame of mind, but I was just in on Zero on this one. And then, you know, when it starts up and it's very much, you know, an environment that I'm not particularly fond of, I'm already kind of down on the low. It's you know, as far as like the look of it goes and the animation and stuff, it does look a bit, you know, it's not super high end, it's not very glossy.
It's pretty generic, isn't it?
It is pretty generic, yeah. There's nothing particularly sparkling about the characters, the designs. They all just look like, you know, they kind of look like cartoon characters who are like on the set of like a Greek mythology show or something, and they've just kind of given them a bit of armor, like a bit of cheap stuff. Nothing to take home. The story was, you know, is told in a very straightforward way, like no confusion about, you know, what the morals were or anything. So I mean, I guess that's good for young viewers. But you know, otherwise there really wasn't anything I'd want to take away from it. I could even, you know, whether I wanted to or not. There was, you know, even though we had monsters and stuff like that, none of the designs were like, oh, that's really cool. Like it was just a big eel or something, like the main sea monster. Nothing fantastic there. So yeah, for me, I definitely wouldn't want to go back in and watch anymore. I feel like, especially now, you know, there's various ways to kind of get these stories into your brain, but watching this series wouldn't be one that I would do voluntarily. So for me, Mythic Warriors is going to be a thumbs down.
Ooh, thumbs down. Okay, not a good start for Mythic Warriors. Yeah, it's a struggle because obviously this is something that on the face of it, I do quite like the Greek mythology stuff. I like mythology in general, and you know, all those old school stories. And visually, it has that. It went straight plain for it, just no frills. Let's just go straight in. But the trouble is, there was no frills, and there was no memorable, you know, attachment to it. I do like. I mean, the story is, you know, a nice sort of way of telling it. It's 20 minutes. It gives you the whole story. Kids can sort of get involved, and then, you know, and at the end of the day, they're closer than the Disney Hercules episodes were.
Yeah.
But you know, I was into them as a kid, and it gets you into it no matter what. I mean, that's the thing I suppose you've got to remember is that as soon as, you know, these are like seeds almost. You'll look into them more if you want to as you get older, and decide, you know, what's realistic, what isn't.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was the worst thing we've watched by any stretch, and I do think it was better than the Hurricanes. Sans the theme tune.
Yeah.
So they'd obviously got a little bit better at doing stuff by then. So I'm going to give it a shaky middle.
Okay, yeah.
Because it wasn't. It was okay. It still had the heart of the myth in there. It had a modern enough telling of it, and I think as a kid I would have got on with this more. It's a bit slow as an adult, granted, but I think I would have got on with it then. So yeah, shaky middle for me. A down and a middle, not great,
but could be worse.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good moral takeaway from how I feel about the show. Really, it's like, yeah, it's not great, but it could be worse. It could definitely be worse. They did an alright job, but you know.
Okay, well, with that out of the way, I guess all that's left to say is thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And apologies if you're a big Mythic Warriors fan and we've just said we don't like it, but you know, sometimes it's just our opinion. You've got your opinion, and it's just as valid. So maybe you want to get in touch with us and tell us why you like it. Maybe we didn't watch the right episode. By the sound of it, the Hades Persephone one was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So let us know. Let us know if there's something we're missing, and you can do so on the three Cerberus heads of the internet: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Toon Jam Pod. If you enjoyed it as well, please feel free to rate and review us. It really helps us out, helps people find us, and share it with your friends. Otherwise, we have some bonus episodes over on our Patreon, and we also have a merchandise store where you can get your hands on some silly merchandise based around the things that we talk about here on Toon Jam that we think you will enjoy: t-shirts and tote bags and the like. So check it out, and that's bit.ly/Toon Jam shop. You can find the links to these things on our social media pages as well. But otherwise, once again, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, you stay jammy.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. If you want to help the show keep going, you can be extra jammy by heading over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/toonjampod. Here you can get a shout out on the show or unlock bonus episodes. Ratings and reviews anywhere you listen to the podcast also really help us out. So thank you, and stay jammy.